Welcome to the fifth session of this program at enrichminds.com. We hope you enjoyed our earlier sessions. In today's session, we shall learn about two economic concepts of great importance: demand and supply. We see the effects of demand and supply in everything we look to buy or sell. In other words, demand and supply impact us all daily. The price of airline tickets, the price of gas or fuel at the gas station, the price we pay for our morning latte, or the price we pay for the meal at a fancy restaurant. Prices vary all the time. Not only do prices vary all the time, many people pay different prices for the same thing, depending on when they bought it. We must understand why that happens so that we can make smart buying and even investing decisions. Both demand and supply impact prices of everything we consume. Both demand and supply impact the prices of everything we buy or acquire when we make an investment. This cartoon may appear quite funny, but it does tell a real story. Our consumption is partly responsible for driving prices up, too. So first, let's look at demand. In economics, demand is the quantity of a good that consumers are willing and able to purchase at various prices during a given period of time. The relationship between price and demand is also called the demand curve. During major holidays, such as Thanksgiving, Christmas, spring break, etc., everyone wants to travel on the same dates, and demand is high. Hence, airlines increase prices. Too far in advance of a certain date, demand to travel is low. Hence, airlines keep the prices low to attract more passengers. As the seats fill up, prices increase. At the last minute, if there are any empty seats, demand is low, and the seat would remain empty, so prices fall. Here we see a demand curve. As you can see, when the price is $4 per bottle, 40,000 bottles are demanded. This is point A. You can also see that at $2 per bottle, 60,000 bottles are demanded. This is point B. So as you can see, as prices decrease, the demand goes up. But let's now look at how demand impacts price. The demand curve could move upwards to the top right. That means aggregate demand has increased. When there is more demand, prices will go up because more people want to buy the same item, but there isn't enough supply. But when prices go up, demand falls because people don't want to buy at higher prices. Now let's look at supply. In economics, supply is the amount of a resource that firms, producers, providers of financial assets, or other economic agents are willing and able to provide to the marketplace or to an individual. Supply can be in produced goods, time, raw materials, or any other scarce or valuable object. Let's say you produce jeans. If you raise the prices of your jeans and your customers are still knocking down your doors to buy them, will you produce less or more of the jeans? Let's look at the supply curve now. As you can see, when the price is $2 per bottle, 40,000 bottles are supplied. This is point F. At $4 per bottle, the quantity supplied is 60,000 bottles. This is point G. As you can see, in summary, suppliers are willing to produce or sell more if the prices increase. However, supply also affects prices. When supply increases, there aren't enough people to buy the product, and hence, prices will fall. But when prices fall, producers are less motivated to produce or sell, and hence, supply falls. Again, we see a dynamic relationship between supply and prices. Let's watch a short video courtesy of virtualhighschool.com.
How much are you willing to pay to get your hands on that new video game system? What would you do if the prices at your favorite pizza shop increased? Every day, people ask questions like these relating to the concepts of supply and demand. Demand is the desire consumers have for a good or service. The more people who want a good or service, the higher the demand for it. Supply is the total amount of a good or service available for consumption. The higher the amount of a good or service produced and made available to consumers, the larger the supply of it will be. Supply and demand have a big impact on the prices of products and services. Consider what happens with bananas. Now, there are few bananas on the shelves, but many people are waiting to purchase them. The demand for bananas is higher than the supply of bananas, because there are more people wanting them than there are bananas available at the market. Knowing this, the banana producer may increase the price of the bananas because they know that with the higher demand, many consumers are willing to pay more to get what they want. Some consumers will decide to leave without purchasing bananas because they aren't willing to pay the higher price. What would happen if we added another producer to the situation so that there are two banana sellers? The demand for bananas would be lower than the supply because there would be more bananas available than consumers want. The banana producers may decrease the price of the bananas to entice more consumers to buy their product, thus increasing the demand for bananas. Understanding supply and demand is key to understanding our own purchasing behavior, as well as the way business works.
So, most pricing experiences we encounter in our daily lives can be explained by the principle of demand and supply, like the price of a pizza delivery on a rainy day, or the price of an airline ticket during Thanksgiving break, or the price of a car service during peak hours, etc. Or why diamonds cost way more than coal, even though they are both made of carbon. Because diamonds are scarce, everybody wants it. Coal, on the other hand, is relatively abundant. That's why diamonds are costlier than coal. Now let's look at how demand and supply interact together. At the low price of $1 per bottle, there is excess demand but not enough supply, since it is not an attractive price for suppliers. This excess demand causes prices to rise, but as prices rise, Supply rises, but demand falls. Excess demand shrinks. Finally, we arrive at a point where supply is equal to demand and price reaches its equilibrium point. Markets are dynamic, and this all changes constantly. Let's look at a very recent event to understand how demand and supply affects our lives. Immediately after the invasion of Ukraine, the United States led a worldwide embargo on the sale of Russian oil, thereby reducing the supply of oil worldwide. As supply decreased, prices went up dramatically because worldwide demand for oil could not shrink quickly to negate the significant reduction in supply. As a result, prices of oil went up globally and affected all industrial activity. Can you think of other examples where the principles of demand and supply have affected your own life? Can we use our knowledge of demand and supply to make better and smarter buying or investing decisions? Can we explain why winter clothing is costly in the winter and cheaper in the spring? How should we plan our purchases to satisfy our wants? Why do retailers have the biggest discounts right after Thanksgiving is over in the United States? Let's watch a short video courtesy of Investopedia.
The law of supply and demand is one of the most basic principles in economics. In simplest terms, the law of supply and demand states that when an item is scarce, but many people want it, the price of that item will rise. Conversely, if there is a larger supply of an item than consumer demand warrants, the price will fall. Supply and demand rise and fall until they achieve balance. Let's say a shoe company develops a desirable new athletic shoe and sets the retail price at $500. While demand for the new shoe might be initially high, most consumers are not willing to spend that much for athletic shoes, so sales will quickly drop after the initial rush. With declining sales, but plenty of shoes to sell, the manufacturer will reduce the price until the demand rises again. When the demand for an item balances with the supply of that product, the market is said to be at equilibrium. The concept of supply and demand can also extend beyond the buying and selling of goods to describe behaviors across the economy. For example, when unemployment is high, employers can offer lower salaries because the demand for employment is higher than the supply of available jobs. When the situation reverses, employers have to offer higher salaries to attract employees.
So on to our key takeaways now. First, price is an outcome of demand and supply. We must remember that truth in making smart buying and investing decisions. Second, the worst time to buy anything is when demand is high and supply is limited. Wait for an opportune time. Thank you for your time. Until next time then, stay enriched and strong.